Hi, and thank you for watching. Today we're going to be talking about social media awareness. And before we get into that, for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm a overcomer trendsetter, and I'm a former victim of human trafficking. And so I'm going to have Anna give you a sneak peek of what I've been doing in the past 15 years. So you can see that I've done a myriad of things, from public speaking to doing films, sharing on the red carpet, bringing awareness on human trafficking on all different formats. So for our first episode, for those of you who don't know, what is human trafficking and what does it have to do with the state of Texas? Well, before I begin, there's also been a lot of misconception whenever I share my story. I've had people assume that I came here from a foreign country and that I was actually abducted here in Dallas, Texas over 20 years ago. So with that being said, that became my passion to bring awareness about human trafficking. I did not have a pimp. I wasn't forced to work on the street. The type of traffickers I had were more of an organized criminal operation where we had to work with Asian spas or escort service or in-house calls. For elite escort service, for those who don't know what an escort service is, it's basically a fancier word for prostitution. So, one of the things I want to share also, what does a madam mean? If you see on my video, it says I had to rank up to be a madam in order to plan my prison break. When I was being trafficked, me and the other girls were being held in a storage unit. And during that time, the traffickers were constantly on watch with us. And so after the day-to-day abuse, I had to find a way to get out of there, even if that meant I had to join forces with the traffickers. And especially during the 90s, nobody knew what human trafficking was. If I went to a person and say, hey, I'm being forced into prostitution, people didn't even think that exists. They believed that prostitution was nothing but a choice. So in order for me to escape the abuse that I was enduring every single day, that's when I decided to join forces. But I was also forced fed with narcotics, from cocaine, heroin, meth, you name it. And so with that being said, I also became an addict. So when I ranked up as a madam, I basically became a female trafficker myself. And so I have a book called Broken Silence. I forgot to bring my book today, but it is on sale. I do have stocks. And so if you want an autographed copy from me, you can go to my website at www.iamchongkim.com. And you can see on the homepage, there's a link that you can click on to buy my book for the autographed copy. And so let's dive into the social media world. So the first photo I'm going to show you is the reported human trafficking cases by state. If you look at the bottom, it will say California is first, Texas is second. Now, let me remind you, all these stats are only reported cases. Now, you have to keep in mind that there are many victims of human trafficking, especially male victims of human trafficking, that have not yet been reported. A lot of times it's due to shame and masculinity, and they also feel a certain male stigma. Even though we're talking about it more, that boys can be trafficked just as much as girls.
Chong, would you mind delving into the reason why you were fed narcotics and drugs?
The reason why they fed me with narcotics is to keep me immobilized, to keep me under their control. And once the addiction took place, then you're not in your right frame of mind. You don't think about escape right then and there because you're constantly wanting that next hit. And also, one of the things that I saw through my addiction is that I wanted to escape the reality. So being force-fed with narcotics, heroin, cocaine, it also numbed my reality. It numbed my conscience, and it was easier for me to become a madam and to have that illusion that this was normal and that I could adapt to this type of life.
Okay.
But once I got clean, that's when the reality started to flesh into my consciousness, and that's when I started to develop complex PTSD to depression. I've had multiple suicide thoughts, and so whenever I see celebrities and when I read posts, I hate to say this, but Kate Spade, Anthony Bourdain, those two had committed suicide, and people are like, wait, why? They were on the top of the world. Well, when I started speaking, people assumed I was at the top of the world. But deep down inside, when you have been hit with a depression or any type of mental illness, it's not so much of a choice that you want to be depressed. It comes and goes like waves. I still go through depression, but because of proper therapy, I got to learn how to set up tools to help me to heal. So whenever I start feeling anxious, I'll start setting up basically a safety plan for myself. Safety plan number one, I'll start listening to music that brings back hope, that brings back motivation. If that doesn't work, I actually have a box filled with, I even take screenshots of people sending me comments saying, "You're welcome, Chong. Thank you for sharing your story." I even get moms that send me letters thanking me. So I'll reread those to bring back
to your tribe.
Yes.
Nice.
So that way I can get focused and say, okay, this is just depression. It's just a phase. So I need to keep moving forward. And I deserve to have a normal and happy life, or actually my normal. So with that being said, let's also go to the next photo for the United States. And all the colored, it looks like a weather forecast, but all the colors are the primary areas that have been reported of human trafficking activity, from labor to sex trafficking, you name it. And then the other photo I want to share is boys can be trafficked, but here's the bottom line. If we have more kids that are not being adequately taken care of, and they're being thrown in the streets, or they're not being perceived as a victim, then guess what? We basically handed them on a silver platter to a trafficker. So then we're also going to dive in to social media. So I decided to utilize Facebook for an example. And through the tutorial, I'm going to show you what predators are looking for when it comes to your profile. Even they could be your mutual friend that you may not know of. I know for me, I have a difficult time figuring out how this person became my friend. And so when you're diving into your social media, they'll look through your profile. They'll start looking through your friends list. They'll see, and the first thing that pops out of your friends list, they're going to look for a profile that shows a child and a mother as a profile pic. And once they see that profile, they have access to your friend's profile. This is what they get to see. They'll see where they work. They see where you have your interest, what games you're playing. They'll even dive in, because I know now, like with Candy Crush, I can play games and I can invite people, my friends, and even people I don't know that can friend me to play Candy Crush with me.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Okay.
And one of the sad things is when it comes to your kids and they're playing and they're using their mommy's account, then they have access to also associating with the predator.
Okay.
So that's another thing.
Okay. Would you like to talk about these moments here at Starbucks? Why did you decided to show us that Starbucks?
Well, on this profile, the person says they work at Starbucks. So what the predator is looking for is, does it show a local address? Where is this located? They're looking for concrete information. Then they'll look through their friends list, and since it doesn't show any friends, they'll go back to the profile. Then they'll start looking. And here's one of the emphasis I want to share. When we're checking in, be sure that our children are not near us. But to a predator, they're going to check out the venue. They're going to see that it's a kid-friendly venue. They're going to also check on their Google Maps or their Apple Maps to see where's the location, how they get there. And if it says it's kid-friendly, then guess what? That predator who have access to your friends will also have access to attend the venue. And if it's going to be a large enough venue, they're going to blend into the crowd. The other thing I forgot to post on here was the hashtag of single moms. I put down single moms rule, hashtag single mom rules. If you click on any hashtag on your Facebook, it will actually link you to all the other single moms. And I forgot to put that here in this video, but I want to emphasize that. The other thing with the photo, it was emphasized that someone went to OSU. I actually was not a student at OSU. However, they don't know that. But anything that a predator can find, anything in the background of your photo, So if you're taking a picture at Walmart and it shows what type of Walmart, they can even enhance the photo. Let's say a coworker walks by and photobombs your photo with you and your kid, but it shows their name tag, then guess what? Then that predator can also find out where that coworker works, where's the location, and they can also make sure how to find you.
Okay, that's very interesting. And also, I was watching a video of an influencer, and her kids were the influencer, actually.
Yes.
And she was saying that when she checks in, because obviously there's also about, like, if you want to have partnerships and all these things, you want to know that, you want to tell the kind of the organization you were there. So what she does is that she tags the location after they've left.
Yes.
So that's, in her opinion, is the safer.
Absolutely. And I do the same thing. I usually, now that I don't have little kids, but even with me, when I'm going to an event and people know that I'll be speaking there, I will check in when I'm there and while I'm there, because I'm a speaker. I want people to attend.
Right.
However, what I do is once the event is done, there's a way that I can see how many people have checked in. But I very rarely check in through my personal profile. This was just an example.
And also the kid that you were with.
Yes, he's actually my son, and he is now a college student.
Okay, so he's safer now.
Yes, absolutely. But it's really important. And also, let's talk about tagging. I know I had a mom that says, my daughter's a cheerleader, and I get friends that tag her. Be sure to know where they're tagging her, how they're tagging her. I even had a mom that gave contract to her school that
really?
they're not allowed to take pictures and tag her child on any social media platform.
Okay.
And I understand that parents want to have their kids engage, and I'm not saying don't take pictures, but there's a way to be smart about it.
Exactly.
And when you're tagging, make sure it's tagged for that one day. Then take off the tag or delete the post. So that way it doesn't linger too long. You can even take a screenshot, and so that way you can add that as a memory and print it out and put it in a scrapbook. That way you can show your kids. Facebook is now actually selling scrapbook of all your posts since you started your own Facebook. Yes, they now started their own. It's kind of like Facebook yearbook. It's worth the cost. That way you don't have to screenshot everything and print it and things like that. And it also shows how many comments you got on that day, how popular it was. But one of the things, especially that I want to emphasize when it comes to photos of your kids on social media, you don't want to utilize any social media as a permanent photo album. It's worth the cost to get Dropbox. Even if you get paid $9.99 a year to have 128 gigabytes, store them there because it's private. It's not, you can share it on your own time. You can share it how you want to. People are not reading the thin lines in the social media content, that any photo that you post on social media also belongs to them. But if you delete it in less than 30 days, it's less likely that they are able to keep that photo.
That's so smart.
Yes.
That's very smart. And also for the Android users out there, you can use Google Drive.
Absolutely. I use Google Drive. I use Dropbox. And there's tons of others. They even have, I think it's called Snapfish, where you can also print the pictures through Kodak machines, things like that.
And there's nothing better than a memento like that, right? Just
Absolutely.
having it printed for you.
Absolutely. But it's all about being safe. But if you want your child or you to be an influencer, I strongly suggest a Facebook page rather than a profile. Because with a page, you can be able to still be an influencer without giving out all your important details.
Yes, you're totally in control of the information that is passed on.
Absolutely.
Or even create a public figure page, right?
Yes. Because I had moms that want their daughters to become singers, and I strongly urge them, make sure you have a Facebook page for your daughter, and especially if your child is still small, meaning under the age of 16. But in my parental opinion, I think as long as they're up to 18, the parents should know what the password is regardless. but that's just my parental opinion, because I believe that it's always important to know what's going on with your child's life. You should be the best investigator when it comes to your kids.
Yes, put that PI hat on.
Exactly, exactly.
Awesome. So would you like to talk a little bit about the GoFundMe campaign they have going on?
Absolutely. So I'm excited to announce our GoFundMe. It's called Every 40 Seconds campaign. What many people are not aware is that in the United States alone, every 40 seconds a child goes missing. And 1 in every 6 child falls into labor, sex trafficking, organ trafficking, and even baby buying. Right now, the sex trafficking has basically trumped the awareness card. People are aware of the labor trafficking, but they believe that labor trafficking only happens overseas, or it happens only to migrant or foreign victims. But even our teenage youth that have been incarcerated, many of them have a hard time looking for jobs. So that's when a lot of times the labor traffickers will use teenage boys to do labor work, and it's not legitimate work. And they'll have them do all these work for their illegal enterprise and not pay them anything. There's also different types of trafficking that boys get into, not just sex trafficking, but also there's an underground type of fight club. So people are not aware that where traffickers make bets on these boys to see who's going to beat up who. And so these scenarios do happen, and people are not aware of that. And so what I'm doing is I'm actually launching a scripted TV series called Every 40 Seconds. I've actually written up to 80 episodes, and it'll be a criminal procedural type of show.
Oh.
But in order for us to do that, we need your help. We want to count on your commitment to help us get this launched. When our TV series is launched, then we are able to give back certain portions of our proceeds, profits, revenue to different nonprofits. And on top of that, between the seasons, we do plan to have a speaking platform.
Oh, this is exciting. Tell us more about this.
Yes. And so with the speaking platform, so let's say season 1 of Every 40 Seconds have already been done. Then between the seasons, while people are waiting at the edge of their seat to see season 2, we're going to take the cast, real survivors, law enforcement, and legislators that are willing to travel with us to go to different states. That way the audience can engage with their favorite characters on the show. Plus, we're having a real talking platform where we're talking about what's wrong with the state, what is the needs assessment that needs to be done. For example, there was a victim of human trafficking named Centonia Brown. She was 16 when she defended herself from her pimp, and she shot him. In the state of Tennessee, they still ruled her as a child prostitute. So
that is very interesting.
Yes, and the downfall is she had to serve a life in prison. But recently, we were able to get the governor of Tennessee to give her a pardon, and she's supposed to be released in August and have 10 years of parole.
I think that was on the news, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It was on the news. And the downfall was she's already spent almost 15 years in prison, and they're going to add on additional 10 years of parole. There's been back and forth of comments. Some people still say, well, 2 wrongs don't make a right. But what people don't understand about the victimology concept is the complex PTSD, the Stockholm Syndrome, the things that most victims fear, that if you've never been through that situation, it's hard to relate because it's not normal to captivate someone. It's not normal to have your own slave. And so with that mindset in mind, and so anyway, I'm going on a tangent, but what I wanted to share with the platform of speaking, we would go to Tennessee. We would meet with some of the representatives that are eagerly wanting to change the laws in Tennessee so that way we can start eradicating that movement. So our TV series is not just for entertainment, but it's also about bringing awareness. All the cases that our characters will work on is actually inspired by real FBI cases. And I said inspired, not based on, so we have to change some of the elements, but it's basically following the victim in the storyline. So if she was abducted in Dallas and she got sent to Alabama, we would follow her story into Alabama. So with that being said, one of the things I want to share real quick, that the rest of our podcast we'll have different we'll have different guests on our show, so it won't just always be human trafficking. So if we have a guest that's a celebrity that's sharing their story, their passion, the last 5 minutes of our show will still share safety tips. If you want to learn more about my story, or you want to learn, or you have questions or concerns, please drop them in the comment box under the video, or you can send me an email at chong@iamchongkim.com, or you can go to my website at www.iamchongkim.com, and you can send your feedback there. And don't forget to give us a thumbs up, support our campaign, feel free to share. There's my book right there. You can order an autographed book, and 20% goes to a nonprofit of your choice. So if you have a nonprofit you care about, please comment that in the comment section when you place your order for the book. Other than that, thank you for watching for the very first show, and I hope you come back to see me again. Thank you.